Okay, homing the machine. So over here, get this fired back up. Try to get this done before our air compressor comes back on. So underneath this continuous pull down, there's a button just underneath it a little bit to the left. It's called Home All. See how the gantry is, all the way back to the back of the machine right now. I could home it, go get a cup of coffee, come back. It would probably be homed by then. But my recommendation is to go ahead and take that machine and jog it. So down here I have what do you call it? A scroll bar a slider bar where I can adjust the jog speed. So I'm going to speed that up. By default, it comes in probably about 25%. I'm going to speed it up to about 80%. And now I'm going to jog the gantry a lot closer to my limit switches, which you've got the x-axis over here and the y-axis limit switch for homing down in here. So close enough. Go ahead and home all. Does the x-axis first. And I know in our first video kind of talked about the circuitry down inside here. All of the limit switches are running on 24 volts for stability of the circuitry. And then if you see, this is made with plastic mounts and wood. So the motor has grounding to earth ground on all the motors to try to get rid of noise. Alright, machine's homed. So now the software limits are in play. So I can now take this and run it. I'm going to pull the head down, run it back up, and there's where Z0 is relative to G53. G53 is commonly known as you see how that deaccelerated down to in the corner? So it never hits the end of the lead screw, saving the machine from the couplers being damaged because it bottomed out or whatever. Another interesting thing here is I'm going to jog over a little bit, and I'm going to try to tell it I want to jog using the pull down under continuous, and I'm going to tell it I want to jog 10 inches in the X direction. It won't do it because it knows where it's at and knows that it can't move that far. So let me try 5 inches. Change it to 5. Still not enough space. So now I changed it to 1 inch. Jog. 2, 3, 4. Won't do that last bit, so I was probably 4 inches and 900 thousandths. So even if you've got a program set up somewhere out here, let's say your program works here, you set it up here, but you got to travel 46 inches. It's not going to do it because the edge of the board is 48. You're already 4 inches over if you're touching off at this location. Hope that makes sense. So these are like on 4-inch centers. Again, there's T-nuts embedded down in here for securing things. Let's see. I'm going to show you something else here. I'm going to change it back to continuous. Oops, change it back to continuous. So in continuous, you can move both axes at the same time. If you're in a jog, incremental value, you can only move one axis at a time. So if you said 10 inches and you push the the arrow down button, it's gonna, and then you push the x-axis, it will do one and complete the one axis, and then execute the second. So again, continuous will let you move both axes at the same time, and jog. So I'm going to do 10 inches, and I hit my down arrow and my left arrow, and and now it'll execute my left arrow. So, so the other thing I want to show you is we do have the fob. Once you get checked out on that, one of the Steves will get you set up with access to the machine. We have the emergency stop buttons, and I'm going to show you this. That is obviously ran. On the side, I'm going to grab 10 inches in the right axis, and I'm going to hit emergency stop. Everything's shut off, but if you watched over here on the control continued to count down that 10 inches, which means it no longer knows where it's at. The software thinks it does, but it's not relative to the actual position on the machine. So if I start this up, and let me go back to this. If I reset the emergency stop button at this point, power will come back to the router. So I highly recommend that you remember to turn off the router after you hit emergency stop. See? So if you were, working on this, trying to get, for whatever reason that you hit the emergency stop, you're trying to fix something here, and somebody just kind of walks up and goes, oh, turns this back on. If you get in a good habit of turning that off, this will not come back on. So I'm really going to stress that. I don't know if there's something we can do to, change that configuration. Maybe a double pole relay or something like that. Is a positive confirmation for that. So I'm going to show you this. This is our dust shoe. The other one that we had was really wide and actually took away some of your X travel, and so this is a 4-piece unit where I can use dust brushes. I have another set that's a little bit shorter bristles. This would probably work pretty good for what I have in there right now, but that's my first swag at this design. So if I take this, they have magnets in the face of them, so I'm going to take this and pop it on here. And so I put this coplanar, the magnet planes coplanar with one another, so I can actually still take this off. If I was to do this, this is probably how I would do it, is 80 degrees or 90 degrees to the, still got my flashlight down here, to this plane. Now I can't pop that off, so it's not accidentally going to come off. Put this little guy on here so that I don't have a hose over here, but this is on here so that you don't put the hose and it runs down here and then have that hose pulling and changing the perpendicularity of the center line of the router to the table. So this actually goes down through here. Eventually we'll have the hose coming down from here, but now off to the side, and that keeps this from getting twisted and torqued by hose tension and whatnot. But once they get the dust collector set up, that'll probably be pretty much a moot point. So that's how that works. Take this guy back off, and the way this guy works is when the router's running, air is pulled down through the top of the router and blows out down at the bottom. So if you're using just a regular dust shoe, it's kind of it's working against itself because that air is blowing down on your chips and trying to blow them out of the road. So this whole idea here was so that this wraps around the motor, this section here wraps around the motor, and I've got these air ducts, if you will, that allows the air to go out the side. can also go out the, the back side of it, so this space here. And then there's this channel that is for the vacuum to go up and pull your chips up. So what we've seen so far is that it's actually worked pretty well, even without having to put the bristles on there. It's pretty amazing. So anyway, that's how you put the dust shoe on. And of course, you can set your cutter length. So if you know that you're only going to cut a 1/2 inch, you could basically put it so that it's sticking out 3/4 of an inch from the bottom side of this, and it will probably work really well for you for pulling all your debris and whatnot out of the way. So I think the air compressor is probably going to come on here in a second, and that's pretty much it for homing the machine.